But second of all, stopping contagion from spreading through the ecosystem, right? Stopping it from being the case that anyone who transitively did business with any chain of people who did business with one of the troubled assets themselves became troubled.
FTX and Alameda Research have gone bankrupt. But that's not the entire story, because they were invested in a lot of different crypto projects. In the coming weeks, we could potentially see the collapse of even more projects because maybe they don't have their funding anymore because FTX has locked that up. So in this video, we're going to go over what's in the FTX Alameda portfolio, what happens to these projects if they no longer have the funds to operate, and what should you do if you're invested. Hi there, internet friends. I'm Dan and I make crypto content. If you find any of this helpful, feel free to support the video by hitting the like button. And if you want to join the community or any of the workshops, check out the links in the description.
It's not going to be good for anyone long term if we have real pain, if we have like real blowouts, and it's not fair to customers.
What's in the Alameda FTX portfolio? Now, I found this great visual on Twitter, and it's originally created by The Block Research. So you can see that they are involved with a lot of different projects when it comes to DeFi, NFTs gaming, data analytics, trading brokerage, Web3, crypto financial services, and infrastructure. Now, it doesn't mean all of these projects are gonna fail. Depending on each one, you'll have to find out how much FTX or Alameda was involved with it, if that project is getting funding from any other sources, and if that project is generating revenue so they can continue doing business. For example, Solana took a big hit from the FTX fallout, and this is due to fears of Solana collapsing since it had close ties with FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried. But Solana's official statement says they're good. They state that they didn't have any crypto custodied by FTX and only had $1 million in assets on FTX. $1 million is a very small amount when it comes to a protocol worth billions. Now, the hard part here is trusting that official statement. Before the collapse of FTX, SBF said everything was good, funds were safe, you can withdraw them, and it collapsed. He said the same thing about FTX US and it collapsed. So this is a common thing we see from a lot of different projects. They don't want people to do a bank run or dump their tokens. They want to keep things going as is. So there is a lot of risk in crypto and a lot of things that aren't being made public. So even though they made a very public statement about saying everything is good, how much can we really trust that? I know it sounds like I'm fudding the project, but in the current climate of the crypto space, you want to be very careful with what funds you have left, because like a lot of other people, you probably took some big hits, and with what you have left, you don't want to lose that. Additionally, if there's a lot of fear in the Solana ecosystem, more projects could move over to other blockchains, and for Solana to survive, they need users. The Solana coin is used to pay for network transactions, and if no one is using the network, no one needs the coin, and then the coin goes to zero. So at this current time, I would be very concerned with the Solana ecosystem and any project that got funding from FTX and Alameda Research. Now, with that in mind, let's consider what happens to a crypto project if they don't get funding. Typically, a cryptocurrency will raise funds from multiple sources, so they might not necessarily be impacted from the FTX disaster. But some projects relied on funding directly from FTX, and some projects held their treasuries on FTX. FTX has closed withdrawals. All funds held by FTX are no longer accessible, so if a crypto project was holding their funds there, they no longer have funds to operate. For example, Ren was receiving funding from FTX for quarterly operations. Operations just means funding needed to operate as a company. This includes salaries for all the employees like developers, research and development, human resources, and other things like paying rent for office space. Now, what happens if companies like this don't have the funds to continue operating? They have to find a new source of funding, new ways to generate funding, or cease operations, which means they close down and that project gets abandoned. Other projects like Aptos received a significant investment from FTX to the tune of $150 million, and if those funds were being held by FTX, it's very likely that Aptos won't see any more funding. I don't know if that's the case. Do your own research if you are involved with that project, because you want to know, will this project continue to operate? Will they continue to build? Or is everyone just going to run off with what funds they have left? So if Aptos no longer has the funds to continue operations, that's going to hurt the growth of their platform and the ecosystem. And since FTX is broke and owes a lot of money, you can be certain that any Aptos tokens that they have or will have unlocked in the future will be sold off. Then there's CeFi lenders like BlockFi and Voyager. They collapsed earlier in 2022 and they were going to stay alive with the help of FTX. But since FTX collapsed, that money is no longer available, and now BlockFi and Voyager have to go through bankruptcy, or they have to find a new source of funding. Now, these are just my thoughts on the current situation. FTX and Alameda Research have a very large portfolio, and very likely, if you have a diverse portfolio of crypto assets, you might have an investment that was also invested by FTX or Alameda Research. So at this point, I would recommend doing a lot of research and find out how much funding came from FTX and Alameda, if there were other investors, how much of an impact would the collapse of FTX have on that current project, and if you can't find those answers or enough answers to give you the confidence to say, hey, everything looks good, my investment looks safe, run. I would just cash out. That's just my personal opinion, not financial advice. I'm just saying, if I don't have enough information, there is a lot of risk. You want to have as much information as possible rather than someone just saying, trust me, bro, we're good. Because that's what FTX said, that's what the guys from Luna said, 3AC, and everything collapsed. So with the current crypto climate, I would be very concerned and extra cautious, and maybe some other people out there might use this as an opportunity. Maybe they see that there's all these funds locked up by FTX, that this protocol can no longer continue, and maybe they short it to make money. I don't know, that's possible. Whenever you're in crypto, there is a lot of opportunity depending on the direction the market is moving. And if you are still investing in crypto, you want to look for projects that are growing, that generate revenue, and that can continue to withstand the bear market. You want to look for projects that are going to be here several years from now. So even though the market conditions are awful, 2022 has been an awful year, the technology is still there, and I still think blockchain technology and some projects are going to be around several years from now. Now, I'm still optimistic long-term about the future of cryptocurrency. I do think it's still going to be here years from now, but let me know what you think in the comments. Mental health check. How you doing? If not well, that's okay too. It's a pretty tough time, but you'll get through this. So with that, I hope you got your full value for today.
They call him the JP Morgan of crypto, right?
Yeah, the Michael Jordan of crypto, if you will.